Hey everybody, welcome back to Down Home Dietitian. Today we are working on putting in our no-dig vegetable garden, and this will be my first no-dig vegetable garden. I've done in-ground tilled gardens before for my veggies, and we had so much success with the no-dig perennial garden that we're working on out front of the house, and that has gone so well. It's definitely more work to put in for much less work later as far as weeding and upkeep. So the investment of time definitely is worth it to me. We're gonna go ahead and use this 50 by 100 space. We have 4 about 12-inch tall raised beds that were given to us that are just square beds that we're going to use, as well as the rest of it's going to be primarily earth beds, which means that it's literally just a mound of dirt that we're going to plant our vegetables into. I'm going to be doing that for the majority of the rows of vegetables, and I'm going to go ahead and try the woven weed fabric. Part of that is we have our budget going to lots of other projects. We have a big home renovation we're hoping to do this summer. This year especially, we want the garden to be as low budget as possible and use as many materials that we already have. So we still have a roll of the the DeWitt Sunbelt woven weed fabric, and I will add a link to that in the description below. And we really liked it. I think we're going to do it slightly differently this year. In the past, or last year, we burned holes to plant the plants in, and what we found was that the weeds still would kind of choke out the plant within the hole that we burned in it. And that in part was due to the fact that our former gardening plot was so grassy, and we had made the mistake of letting it go to seed over a winter once, and then it just made the weeds impossible to deal with after that. So the no-dig should help with that here, and then keeping up with the mowing around the garden in this area. So the no-dig part of this garden, if you're not familiar with it, or if you haven't seen my video before with the perennial garden, that means that we're going to put down a layer of cardboard to kill the grass underneath and keep any weeds in the ground from coming through. And then we're going to layer compost on top of that, plant in the compost, and have a mulch of some kind, which in this case is going to be that woven weed fabric. We're going to try cutting X's in the fabric instead of O's, and that should be for all of my started plants. So when we put a started plant in, and an X hopefully is going to lean up against the stem gently on all sides, so there's going to be fewer opportunities for weed seeds to get in there and for weeds to come up and grow out, and then still maintain that hopefully afterwards.
Because we were busy setting up all this infrastructure, and because we had one of the latest springs I have ever experienced this year, my garden is quite a bit behind, as are most people's in the Pacific Northwest this year. It just was cold for a long time, so everything went in kind of late, but that's okay. It's still going to produce. I'm still going to get a harvest. It just might be a little later, and I'm fine with that. To be honest with you, getting the infrastructure set up and just knowing that it's ready for next year is enough for me. If we get a harvest, great. In the meantime, we've been working on a lot of time-sensitive projects, getting the greenhouse most of the way put together. Here's a sneak peek. I'm just starting to paint it, and the heat has picked up. Our bees are bearding, sitting outside the hive, trying to cool off, and the garden is starting to catch up. So the plants are still smaller than they would normally be this time of year. It's okay. We're just gonna see this thing through and see where we get. And we've been busy installing an air conditioning unit in our farmhouse. We're getting ready to do a kitchen renovation. Our upstairs renovation is not going to happen. Our plans didn't come through from our engineer quite this year, so we're just riding the wave of home renovations and permits. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.